War.
There's a line that most franchises eventually cross, where they try to evolve so hard that they forget what made them work in the first place. After the recently released God of War Laufey trailer, a lot of people are asking the question, is Kratos being replaced? I don't think anyone really believes Kratos is going to be erased from the franchise entirely. But he's been the center of the God of War games for so long that them just shifting the spotlight feels a bit weird to say the least. Now, the game itself honestly looks pretty decent. The combat looks pretty good, the graphics are as good as always, and they brought back the jump button, which is like, oh my god, thank you. But I'm not gonna lie, the idea of replacing Kratos as the main playable character for an entire God of War game is, well, I have concerns to say the least. Let's talk about why. First, let's get this out of the way. Kratos is not like most video game protagonists. He's the god of war. From the original Greek saga to the Norse reboot, every identity shift in the franchise still came back to him. Even when they completely changed the entire approach to the franchise, it wasn't Kratos is gone now, it was Kratos is back, but he's changed. Older, quieter, and more controlled. But still the same core idea, a man running from his torturous past. That's honestly why he works so well. It's not just because he's a powerful demigod and it's genuinely fun to watch him crash out sometimes. He's interesting because he's a contradiction that he can never fully solve. He wants peace, but he was built for violence. He wants to be a good father, but he did the one thing that a father could never forgive himself for. The internal conflict of Kratos is really the thing that carries this entire franchise emotionally. So when Santa Monica releases the trailer for the next big God of War game and you're not playing as Kratos, but rather Kratos' deceased wife, there's a big question that comes with that. The big question that I have is, what happens when you remove the emotional anchor of your entire series? Because let's be clear about something, you automatically lose a huge part of the God of War identity if Kratos is not the playable character. It doesn't automatically break the game, but it creates an uphill battle that many would consider frivolous. But uphill battles can still be won, so let's indulge for a little bit. The God of War Laufey trailer is actually quite interesting because it's not a side story, it's not a DLC, it's a full-on shift in perspective. From what we've seen, the game focuses on Faye, navigating a chaotic afterlife realm known as the Everywind, dealing with gods, champions, and mythologies colliding in ways that we actually haven't really seen in the God of War franchise yet. And Kratos is not the playable character, but rather only seems to exist through hallucination. He's background history. Now, on paper, this is a bold idea. Before, Faye was always the mystery, but now that's completely shifted. Now Kratos is the mystique, if you will, and giving Faye some time to shine offers the God of War universe a fresh new perspective. But here's the problem. God of War has never really been a universe-first franchise. When you shift the camera away from Kratos, you're not just changing the perspective, you're changing the emotional engine of the series. That's honestly what makes me so uneasy about all this. Not that I don't think Faye can carry a story, I mean, I think she can, but because the God of War franchise has never really asked us to care about anything more than Kratos' journey, now it just becomes a fear that we're building toward a shared universe. And to me, that just feels like slowly stepping away from the character that made it all matter in the first place. Now, I'm gonna be brutally honest about something. I don't think that this is gonna happen, but I've seen crazier things. If Santa Monica ever decided Kratos is done and Faye is the new God of War, that would be a catastrophic mistake, and not for the reason that you think. Now, I understand that there is a lot of bad faith criticism currently being levied against this new game, and I want to make it clear right up front that I do not associate with that crowd over there. My concern with God of War Laufey is not that it is replacing Kratos with someone who isn't a bulging, bald, pasty man. My concern is that Santa Monica, in their pursuit of trying to find a new direction for this franchise, is confusing narrative expansion with narrative replacement. Kratos works because his story feels like a long odyssey of exhausting punishments. You don't just switch perspectives just because the character you're switching to was one that was teased. Replacing Kratos instead of complimenting him leads to three main things happening. One, the emotional continuity breaks. Players lose the long-term attachment that they had to the character that they're playing as. Two, without its core identity, the franchise becomes a generic God Slayer game. And three, future storytelling loses its tension because Kratos is no longer the consequence of everything that came before. Now, to Santa Monica's credit, they seem to be somewhat aware of this. Kratos is still around in the Laufey trailer. In a way, his presence looms over everything. And all things considered, considering what this game is, it seems like Santa Monica is taking the safest direction possible by doing this, letting him become a legend inside of a story instead of being the center of it. Making a character matter from a different angle can be a really good idea, but it's not one that I think can always work when we're talking about an interactive medium, where the whole idea is that you're experiencing something from a very specific perspective. Regardless, whether or not this perspective switch continues to be a thing in the God of War franchise going forward remains to be seen. I don't hate it, but unfortunately, I can really see this becoming a big problem for the franchise going forward. Something that starts out creative and ambitious, but balloons into something detrimental for the franchise overall. I hope I'm wrong, but honestly, I feel like franchises always have a habit of eventually getting ahead of themselves, overcomplicating the core ideas that made them work in the first place. And I don't think we've seen many instances of that leading to anything good. If Santa Monica wants to make a game about Laufey, then that's completely fine. But at what point will Kratos no longer be the core identity of the game? That's a question that I kinda asked in my previous God of War video, which if you like this video, you should definitely check out once we're done here. Franchises evolve, I get that. The God of War franchise evolved, but it evolved by still keeping its core face. And how long it can survive without that face being at the forefront, well, that remains to be seen. I hope it won't be a disaster. Anyway, what do you guys think? Am I being a dumb idiot boy, or am I actually onto something? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, like the video and subscribe to hear more. Catch you guys later.